Hey everybody, I'm making the video, the one everybody's asked me to, well, several people have asked me to, how and why I rig my rods the way I do. I'll get into the why after we do the rigging, but for starters, let's get into what I use and how I do it. Here's everything that I use on my main line. I have my large 250-pound swivel, just a regular sinker slide, 2 beads, and a bobber stop. The rig itself is actually pretty easy. You simply slide the bobber stop on, you slide the bobber stop off, and then you take the tube off the line. You pull the lines tight, and you end up with the bobber stop on your line. Trim the tag ends, add your first bead, add your sinker slide, add your second bead, then tie on your swivel. The knot I like to use, I'm sure it's called something, I don't know, I just use it. I put my line on, run it through the eyelet, loop it back around, and pull it out the other side. When I go to tie the knot, put my finger in there, and then I twist 6 or 7 times. Then I just raise my finger up, open that loop up right there, run it through both loops, grab it, slide it off my finger, start to cinch it down a little bit, get her straight, and then I'll moisten the whole knot. Make sure you get all this down here moistened too. Then as you pull it around, that little loop will slide up. You just pull the main line and the tag in. And then what I like to do to keep them from stretching or causing itself, I'll bite the tag in and use my finger to slide it down. Once she's taut, you have a real strong knot. It works great for braiding too, because it cinches down on itself. Trim the tag end off, and that's basically what your rig looks like right there. And then right up here you have your bobber stop, so it stops everything. And I'll show you why I do that in just a second. That is how all my rods are rigged out. Let me grab a couple things and I'll show you why I use this. Now, let's get into the why I rig my lines my rods like that. You'll understand once I show it. Some people may have a different way of doing it all, but this makes it easy for me to change between different types of fishing. Okay, let's say I want to suspend fish or Carolina and grab another bag. Okay, as you can see, I pre-make all my rigs and put them in a bag. But let's say we're going to suspend fish off of the boat. I take my pre-tied rig, clip it on to the clip, and I can either put my weight on the sinker slide or on the main swivel. Now I am set where I can suspend fish off the boat, and my weight doesn't hinder any. And if I want to drag, I'll start right here, just like I was before. Clip my dragging weight onto the sinker slide and say I use one of my Santee rigs for dragging. You know, kind of keep the bait up off of the bottom. I simply take my rig and clip it in here, and now I'm set up to drag. Okay, now this is where one of the ways the sinker slide comes in. Many people drag, when you drag, if you've got a heavy, a real strong float on there, when you're letting your line out, that sinker slide wants to let it float up. Well, mine can only float so far, then they hit that bobber stop, and it pulls everything to the bottom, and then once everything gets on the bottom, it resets here. Works great. Okay. Now, this is the reason I came up with this mainly, was if I want to float fish. I put my leader, just like I would if I was going to suspend. This time I put this weight, put my weight on the same swivel. So that it's like that. And now what I do is on the sinker slide, I take my floats that I made, I put them on my sinker slide. Now I can set my depth with this, however deep I want to fish this rig, and you got a slip float. It'll run up there and you're good. Set it 20 feet, 25 feet, 50 feet, it doesn't matter. And then when you go to reel the fish in, line comes back through, float drops down no farther than right there, so it stays away from the fish. That's how I terminate my rods. I'll be doing some more videos on the knots, different knots that I use, because I use a couple of different knots depending on the line I use, how I want to rig them, and I'll get those posted up as soon as I can. But for now, that's how I terminate my rods, with the 250-pound swivel and a sinker slide and bobber stops and things of that nature.